Cancer, this is your March tarot reading. So far, most tarot readings this month are quite psychological, and I'm sure yours is as well. Now, of course, tarot is about psychology. It's about how these energies impact on your psychology. It's not fortune-telling at all. You have free will. The central card I'm drawn to, you're becoming disillusioned and walking away from something. What is it? Is it life itself? I think a number of us are very disillusioned with almost everything. Are you one? In the past, you were led by love. Very loving person. Is it love that you're simply disillusioned with? I think there's more to it than that. But being so loving made you vulnerable. Right now, you know that. You're going inside yourself looking for answers. You're looking for answers inside yourself because you can't trust where you used to go for answers, things like the news, etc. In doing so, you're missing opportunities, but is the truth not better than knowing, than material wealth, No, I think you're doing the right thing. I think you do. And you emerge from this, we've had the Queen of Cups, and you emerge from this, the Knight of Cups, even more loving, even more vulnerable. But I still think that that's a very good thing. You're struggling somewhat, aren't we all? Struggling to do everything you need to do, struggling to cope with the major changes that are being imposed on us. Every week something changes and makes our life more difficult and more complicated, and we're all struggling with it. We're struggling with this fear porn that's being launched at us. We're struggling to cope psychologically with everything that's going on. And it's this struggle that leads to the outcome. What would change the outcome is a feeling of poverty and maybe of no friends. But maybe, and I think we all feel like we've lost money. We're all worried about money. But maybe it takes that sort of major shock to change you from the outcome, because the outcome I don't think is a positive outcome, a very natural outcome, but maybe you need to be pushed a little bit further. You see, the outcome is an outcome of fear of the unknown, and we've all got that for sure, but no good ever came from fear. So it does look very psychological, doesn't it, Cancer? Well, Cancer, you're certainly disillusioned. You're disillusioned and walking away from things. What are you walking away from? Is it life itself? I feel that everything, and I'm 65, every cause, everything I've believed in has been completely destroyed. My life counts for nothing because of all these things I cared so much about are completely meaningless. I've just watched a vlog and saw Boris Johnson, the former PM of Britain, when he was campaigning pro-Brexit, going to the port of Grimsby, which years ago was the biggest fish port in the world, and promising the fishermen that if they voted for Brexit, that there would be a renaissance in their industry. And the exact opposite happened. And they're just saying that they'll never vote again. Not only will they not vote Tory again, well, they can't vote Brexit again, but, would they never vote Tory again? They'll never vote again. And you can't put up an argument as to why they should, because they were blatantly lied to, And it's this sort of a feeling that you've got. You're walking away because you're thoroughly disillusioned with something. I mean, it might be love. I don't know what it is, but there's something that you just, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm going off on my own. I don't care. Goodbye. Is it love you're walking away from? Well, it could be. Maybe I'm being a bit too dramatic and it's not global events, but could it be both? I don't know. Because in the past we have the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Love. Very, very loving queen. Very loving person. Loves everyone and loves everything, which is exactly how we should be. But I feel all of us are having the stuffing knocked out of us at every turn, you know. And my wife said to me yesterday, why are you looking so glum? And it's because I'd read that the Rishi Sunak's government had debated scrapping UK pensions. Now, I claim mine in a few months. And of course, like all other pensioners, I'd paid into it, being told that it was an insurance. Now, we all knew that that wasn't really true, but we didn't think that they'd ever break the facade by scrapping them. You know, it was like paying into a private insurance scheme that the money was meant to pay for your retirement. So, you know, to even think that you can debate it is a bit like when Robert Maxwell made off with the Mirror Group's pensions. You know, it's unthinkable. And of course, it's creating huge uncertainty for me. So therefore, when I get money, I'm having to save more money just in case something dramatic happens. So I can't plan for my future. You know, and I think this is how you feel. I think this is how you feel. Those things that you hoped and cared about are being destroyed. Right now, all these things are going on in your mind, you know. What's happening? Why? I don't understand, you know. And going back to the pensions, and these are just illustrations, but, you know, the fact that Sunak's government could even contemplate what I think they should all go to jail for. Seriously, I mean, it's fraud of the highest order, you know. But, you know, that they could even contemplate it has sent me into this, you know. What if they, you know, what can I, and as a result, I'm having to be very careful with my money. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how I fare at all, but I'm having to be very careful with my money and probably missing opportunities. But I don't care because I need to be safe. I need to be secure. And that's exactly the thought pattern you're going through now. Now, it's probably got nothing to do with UK pensions, you know, but you're just thinking, well, what about this? What about that? And if that happens, as a result, it's a very internalised thought pattern that you've got. And was that why these things are being leaked? Is it to create this fear porn? Is it that we're frightened, compliant little piglets running around thinking, what can we do? It certainly feels like that. In the future, I think we've got the antidote to this fear, this negative thinking. And that is even more love, even more vulnerability, paradoxically. You know, if we have faith that the universe will provide, why do we care what Boris Johnson or Rishi Sunak or Joe Biden or Donald Trump, Narendra Modi, General Prabowo, why do we care what they say? You know, if we have confidence that we live in a world of plenty and that Allah will provide, what are we so worried about? And even if these are very personal to you, even if it is about love, if if you have love, does anything else really matter? Why are you so concerned about these things that are designed to make you fearful? No, love's the answer. And I know why you're somewhat fearful. I know why you're going internally looking for answers. Because, things are a bit of a struggle at the moment. They are for us all. You find it very difficult maybe to put enough money together to continue with the lifestyle that your family expect. And we're all going to have to make changes, We all are. But it's a bit like the pensions, if you were to speak to the Sunak government, they'd say, well, we can no longer afford it. We have a crisis. But the pensions were started after the Second World War. Britain was on its knees. There was even a very, very harsh winter, and they ran out of coal. People were freezing to death, and yet they could start the pensions. And what's happened now? Well, the only thing I can see that's happened is the rich have got richer and the poor have got poorer, and the rich want to be even richer, So let's see through it. Yes, we're feeling the pressure. We're all feeling the pressure. But let's be realistic about what's going on. And, it's a bit like you're a hamster on a wheel, isn't it? You're going round and round on that wheel. And you've got to keep going. You've got to keep going. And you can't see what's outside the cage. And you being that hamster on that wheel, what would make you see things differently? What would change things? Maybe the wheel braking, eh? If the wheel breaks, you can't keep going like that. And you have to look outside the cage. Well, your wheel breaking could be being plunged into poverty, could be losing your job, losing money. I think we all feel like we're losing money at this moment. Losing something that is to do with your wealth. Maybe even feeling all alone in this. And I think increasingly we do feel atomised. The health crisis, when they made us wear those stupid masks. Nobody feels a part of community anymore, do they? We couldn't smile at others. We maybe hoped that people could see the despair in our eyes. We weren't allowed to talk. We weren't allowed to smile. We weren't allowed to reassure each other. We've got a very atomised society now as a result, and probably that will last generations, the damage it's done. So maybe it takes something really, really bad so that you can look outside and see maybe what's going on in your life. And as I say, it might simply be about your love life. It might not be about these global issues, but it's going to take something big for you to see things differently. And, maybe some of you understand tarot and you look at it and you're going, magic? You've got off on one. How on earth are you interpreted as that? Well, look at this last card, the outcome. Fear of the unknown. The reading's about fear, isn't it? The reading's about fear. And that's why you're walking away. That's why you're getting disillusioned, because fear has been created. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what might happen. Fear of me losing my pension. Fear that if I should lose my pension, I cannot even go back to the UK with my wife because of the new laws on how much I've got to earn. So fear of losing my loved ones, and that government, my own, well, I don't live there now, but the government in the country I was born in are discussing breaking up my family and not allowing me to be with them. That's the sort of fear that plays on our minds, isn't it? It really is. And it's because you've been on this hamster wheel. You're very fearful about what might happen, but not seeing it for what it really is. And, there's no way they can get rid of pensions. But I will have to alter my behaviour just in case. Let's have a look if there's any sense in what I'm saying at all. And let's look at what is the nature of this fear. Have I got it right? Well, the first one is the card of deception. Is this fear of deception? Is it that there's been so much deception that it's made us fearful, unable to trust in the future? The next card is the High Priestess. Psychological manipulation, maybe. And the final card is the Wheel of Fortune card. Fearful of change. Well, we all are a bit, but we must embrace it. I think I'm right, but we'll look at each card individually. And we're saying why are you fearful, and we have a card here of deception. You look at the rendering, she's trying to buy the sword off that man while her accomplice is stealing another sword. Isn't that what's happened to us all repeatedly? Maybe you're focusing on something personal to you. Maybe it is about love, this reading. But these are things that have happened to us all repeatedly, to such an extent that we no longer trust anybody or anything. And man can't live like that, we can't. We can't build a society. We can't even call ourselves human if we live in fear of being constantly ripped off. And you look at virtually anything you try and buy these days. And even if what you're trying to buy is good and honest, the method of payment is open to scams. But there are more scams out there now than there are honest products, honest services. So who can blame you for being fearful of this? And you alter your behaviour as a result. A bit like me and the pension. Yeah. Oh, it's sorry, isn't it? We have a card that really is about psychology. Has the fear been created by fear porn via behavioural programming? Undoubtedly it is. Is that what this card's referring to? Or could it even be a further energy? Is it that you now, having experienced all that you have, are beginning to see these scams and see them everywhere? Somebody that I considered my friend, and I don't know if this is true, I haven't got to the bottom of it yet, but let me tell you what it's about. Somebody in Indonesia who was a friend, who was, he got to the top of his particular profession. So reasonably well paid, well educated, well paid man, who, like me, is about to draw his pension, and his pension, by Indonesian standards, will be very good. And maybe it was just as a hobby, but he wanted to invest it in something. And he's built a coffee shop at the back of his house. But it's behind his house, and his house isn't exactly in a great location for anything, let alone a coffee shop. But he's put a lot of money in it, and I think he's doing pretty well considering where it's located. I mean, there might be a few things he could do to get more customers, but not much, But what he won't have done before, he won't have done any research, nor drawn up a draft business plan to realise that for how much he spent on building this beautiful building, he could never get it back from a coffee shop where people go simply to use his internet so that they can work in a cafe. Maybe they have a snack and a few coffees over the course of a day, but he'll never get the money back that he's put into it. And he wants to see me, and I'm sure he wants to see me to ask me to invest in it, not realising that I've completely seen through it, And I think that's why I was despairing, really, yesterday. It wasn't about my pension, it was about that. Knowing that somebody who is pretty clever thinks I'm pretty stupid. Remember, I taught at one of the best business schools in the world. Thinking that I couldn't possibly see through it, And it does upset me. It does upset me, and I think it upsets you. And I think you're worried about what's going to happen to the world. And I know you're saying, Magic, this is terribly depressing, What's the matter with you? Well, I've told you what's the matter with me. But, there's massive hope. There's massive hope. As I said, you're going to end up full of love, and that's the way out of all of this. Fill your heart full of love. Fill it with good thoughts. Yes, these ideas that I put in your head are there, but they can be fleeting. You see, the world has already changed dramatically, and it's changing again, and you must remember we're at a time of constant change, and with each change, those who've deceived us are going to get their karma. And with each change, we're being asked to embrace community, to embrace love, to embrace a better world, and sooner or later we'll all cotton on to it. And when we have, then we will have a much better world. So we could see March as a bit depressing, and indeed there are many things to be depressed about. Not least fear of the unknown, which I think we all feel a bit of. But the beginning and the ending show great hope. Because the way out of fear is love, and you know that, and you can create love. You know you can do it. You absolutely know you can do it. You've done it before, so why not again? But you are disillusioned. You're very disillusioned with what's going on. Maybe it's entirely personal to you, but I think it's about the world. And you're looking for answers inside yourself, and in doing so, you probably miss opportunities, but you don't care because you need answers, because the truth is more important than materialism. You're struggling a bit with everyday things, maybe you're struggling to make ends meet. Certainly to keep up the lifestyle your family are used to and expect you to provide for them. And maybe it will take a major shock to bring you to your senses, losing your job, losing a large sum of money, losing it is material, losing something material to make you jump off this hamster's wheel that you're on and look what's going on in the cage outside. Because there's no doubt that partially you're being controlled by fear of the unknown, and of course, I don't think any of us trust the news any longer. We're all well aware that there's this organisation that coordinates all of the news, and that all of the mainstream media have to follow what that organisation's line is. Whether it be objectively true or a pack of lies, they all have to follow it. So none of us have any trust on anything outside anymore, which is why we're looking internally for answers. But that organisation is creating fear wherever we look, and I think it's to have a psychological impact on us. A psychological impact because if we're running round like fearful little piglets, then there can be more deception of us. But, so many of us don't want any more to do with it. We've realised, no, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. And we can see through it. It's behavioural programming, it's psychological manipulation, The tables will turn, if we have love, if we have faith in God, in Allah, the universe, then those who are manipulative, those who are lying, karma's coming from them, and it's coming pretty quickly. And you need to go with the changes. There's going to be even more changes. I know you're saying, we've only been through a huge change. There's more changes to come, and the only way you can approach it is with love. And there's great hope if we all